Right. Well, welcome everybody. Thank you for giving us your time today. I'm Gary Pyatt, Chairman of the Aventura Marketing Council and Chamber of Commerce, and we're very, very excited and delighted to have the opportunity to partner with the Miami Association of Realtors on this program today. We're also very happy to welcome our sister chambers, Dania Beach, Hollandale Beach, and North Miami Beach Chamber of Commerce's. We're also proud as part of this program today to have 4 of our very close mayors with us today. That is Aventura Mayor Enid Weissman, Hollandale Beach Mayor Joy Cooper, North Miami Beach Mayor Anthony DiFilippio, and Sunny Isles Beach Mayor Bud Scholl. 2 of our Aventura commissioners. If there's anybody on here that I miss, Elaine, you'll let me know, but in particular, Dr. Linda Marks and Gladys Mizrahi. So to keep the program moving very quickly, again, on behalf of the Aventura Chamber of Commerce and our sister and partner chambers, we thank everybody for giving up an hour of their afternoon to participate in this extremely valuable program dealing with the realtors and our cities. So Danielle, that being said, I will now turn the program over to you.
Thank you, Chairman Gary. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Happy Thursday. My name is Danielle Claremont with your Miami Association of Realtors. Proud to be the largest local real estate association in the United States, over 50,000 members strong, spanning across all 4 counties in South Florida and beyond. We're honored to have so many of you on today. Over 200 people had registered. We're excited. We're really excited to also partner, especially with the Aventura Marketing Council, especially because we have such a high concentration of realtor and professionals in the area. And as of several months ago, we also opened our Aventura office. So we'd love to see you all when things get back to normal and we're in person again. We'd love to see many of you there. I do a shout out right now to all of our leaders and members on the call. We're in for a really great treat today when we have these real estate updates. It's wonderful, valuable information. Our task for you is to take it and share it with your clients and make sure you get more of these buyers from the Northeast and internationally and beyond to go ahead and buy here in this great South Florida. So without further ado, I'm going to recognize our sponsor today. As always, these things are made more possible through the use of our sponsors. Pamela Wenger with I'm so sorry, Kristen Wenger with, I am so sorry, Kristen Wenger.
All right, Danielle, I don't need that much of an introduction. I'm Kristen Wenger with First Service Residential. Thank you, Danielle, for having us here.
Thank you.
And to the AMC for hosting this and allowing us to be participants with this. But today we want to share a video with you. We are the leading property management company in residential management in North America and right here in South Florida as well. So to show what we've been doing throughout the COVID times that we have been in, that we weren't expecting this year, we created little videos for each of the communities that we manage to show them how much we care about our communities and the things that we're doing to enhance their lives during this time. So without further ado, here's a short little video that just shows some of the things that we have done at communities. And this is actually at the harbor, which I'm sure all of you are very familiar with. Seems like we don't have any sound. I don't know if anybody else doesn't have any sound here, but it's the song Lean On Me. It's a beautiful song. So we sent this out to the harbor residents so that they knew everything that we were doing to care about the community during this hard time. So obviously there was a lot of disinfecting, a lot of cleaning, but more importantly, it was the employees really embracing it and taking in the residents and just showing them how much that they care personally. And of course, they are our first line. They were there to really service the residents when things were very difficult for themselves. So again,
after this video,
I'm sure you can imagine there's a beautiful Lean On Me song here, but that's the video, and we're so happy to be here again, and I appreciate you allowing us the time.
Thank you, Kristen. And again, I am so sorry about that. I had my first flub in many, many years. So thank you for your sponsorship, you and Bill, and we look forward to working more closely with you. Next, we're going to move right along to hearing some valuable updates from our mayors who we're so honored to have with us today. So we can stop the video and we will go first to Aventura Mayor Enid Weissman.
Okay, I'm having, can you hear me first of all?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm having a little problem. I'm viewing the Miami Realtor screen and I can't see the people that are the postage stamps.
You are on and all the attendees can hear you now, so you're able to give your update.
I'm not sure you understood what I said then.
Water, please.
I'm just seeing your sign, so I'm wondering if other people are seeing the sign that came up.
We are.
Okay,
We
you're
are.
seeing the same sign. All right. Okay, well, today really is an absolute wonderful day in the city of Aventura, in spite of COVID, in spite of everything else that's going on. We broke ground on the new Bright Line train station, and it is going to be a game changer, not just for Aventura, for all of Northeast Dade County. They've made a few changes since last we talked about it, and it will become more of a commuter train. I think it's going to stop near 151st Street, making it much more accessible for all of Northeast Dade to be able to get to downtown and be able to get to points north. I think as far north as Orlando. So we broke ground on it today. It was very, very exciting. Additionally, Monday this week, our K-8 ACEs opened. All students are, thank you, all students are being served virtually at this point in time. Our high school also opened. Both schools have fairly long waiting lists, and it's a tough time. So, you know, it would be remiss of me not to take a moment to thank all the people that we never thank. All right. We thank our first responders. We thank our police officers. We thank our hospital workers. And I continue to thank them. But I also thank the people that have worked for the past 4 months at Publix, for the people that have worked at the gas stations, for the people that have allowed the rest of us to survive during this time. And also, I want to thank everybody for wearing the mask. Okay, I really mean it. You know, it became sort of a political symbol, but in the last 2-3 weeks, I think that's passed, and we all know we're doing what's right for our community. I'm particularly interested in what the realtors are going to say, because COVID certainly has impacted the real estate market. So I may stay on the call. Are there any, you know, the mall is open. Most of the strip centers are open, but it's very tough for our businesses. It's very hard for our businesses at this time. And I just am so happy that I have Joy to the north of me and that I have Bud across the water, and that we really have the same ethos. We care about community. It's not about us. And it's trying to do what's right. So again, I think I brought you up to date with the train, the 2 schools opening, the mall is open, the restaurants are at 50%, but just understand it's hard times for a lot of people. And I know it's impacted the real estate market. So again, we're here to help and do whatever you guys need us to do.
Thank you, Mayor Weissman, very much. And you do have many constituents on the call today, being that we have so many real estate professionals in your Aventura area. Next up, Hollandale Beach Mayor Joy Cooper. Oh, you're on mute.
Technical difficulty. I'm sorry. Good afternoon. It's so great to be with you all. I want to thank you, first of all, for your support and all that you do for the communities and your members. I'm so happy to be here with the mayors and to share some interesting updates about Hallandale Beach, particularly in the real estate venue. As you know, Oasis is coming out of the ground on Hallandale Beach Boulevard. It's a very, very exciting project that is moving forward. And we look forward to them continuing to move on. Even with COVID, we're open 2 days a week at City Hall still because, you know, we've been waiting to do anything more until those COVID numbers remain flat. We also have 2000 Ocean that is actually doing their internal construction now, growing out of the ground. I just heard from our building official. We have built more mansions. If you're not familiar with that, that's a low-level condominium that actually is being raised within the next month or two. And I believe that their developers are moving forward with trying to make a presentation with another new condominium there. Of course, our regular condominium market, you know, we have some great value here. I'm very excited. Our parks program, those of you that haven't joined from the surrounding areas, we have done a $54,000 redo of every single park in our city. So we've been looking forward and progressive to make sure that we have a quality type of lifestyle here. Of course, we have a K through 8. It's a public school, obviously, and our Hallandale High School, they are still, as Eden said, because of COVID, they're not open. They're doing some virtual classes. We want to, again, thank all those individuals, the teachers and everybody that has kept our cities going, the people that you don't see, the sanitation workers, the underground workers, and those type of things for our infrastructure. And with that said, we're actually moving forward next year to do some major investments in our community redevelopment agency. We'll be redoing our lighting, our sidewalks, and also partnering with the city to increase our infrastructure, to build in resiliency and address some flooding concerns that we all have to address with the sea level rise, as well as aging infrastructure. Hallandale Beach is an older community, 90 years old, but I have a vision to the future, even while we're going through COVID. If you're standing still, you're falling backwards in my book. So with that said, I think I gave you, CRA. We've actually been redeveloping what we're calling our fashion art district. We opened Art Square, which is at 3rd and Federal, and we're looking to develop that whole corridor, which is so important. I call that the sleeping corridor of all our cities along the train, and it's great. Bright Line is coming in, and of course, Broward County has been working. We finally have our matching local dollars and penny tax, so we're looking at really investing in that infrastructure. We will be rolling out, and hopefully within the next year, a full electric minibus system. So we're really keen on our sustainability action plan and our infrastructure. And I just want to offer my assistance to anybody that's coming into the city. If you're a realtor, if you have any questions, we are here to support you. You're who creates our new residents. And my phone number, I always like to give it out, is 954-632-5700. And I'm going to ask our moderator if we're going to take some Q&A, because I am going to stand around and stay here with you guys on Zoom to answer any questions your participants may have today. But again, thank you for the opportunity. Be safe, like Edith said, wear your mask, wash your hands, social distance, support our local businesses and that are struggling. And hopefully if we all do the right thing, we'll be heading towards opening. I do have one interesting announcement. I forgot to share it earlier, and I want to thank Mayor Budd. I don't want to steal his thunder, but the convalescents, we're going to be hosting a convalescent blood drive. But more importantly, I just got news that Warp Speed, they've actually, we've had one of our doctors is going to be opening up in Hallandale Warp Speed vaccine trials. So we're going to get there if we all unite and really be compassionate and unite to fight COVID and get back on our feet. So thanks again for the opportunity.
Thank you, Mayor Cooper, very much for those great updates. And yes, those of you who'd like to ask any questions, you can do so in the chat right now to each of the individual mayors if you'd like as well. Next up, we have Sunny Isles Beach Mayor, Mayor Bud Scholl.
Thank you. This is one of the few days I'm not going to talk about COVID. As I mentioned earlier, my day job is I'm the CEO of OneBlood, So we've been at the epicenter of the of COVID convalescent plasma, really the pandemic in general. So I'm on the phone with the FDA, the CDC constantly. But anyway, today I'm going to talk about the city, which is my other favorite subject. And I'm going to give you some numbers real quick. So 2019, we had 628 new residential units come online. 2020, we anticipate 424 new residential units come online. And that doesn't include the new Aquilina or some of the other buildings that are still in development. So our city continues to be, resilient and very robust when it comes to new development. And I would say it's because we do a lot of investing in infrastructure. The city, we invested over $20 million over the past few years to underground all overhead utilities, as well as installing new streetlights and hardscape on Collins. Anybody that drives through has gotten inconvenienced by that. My phone rings off the hook for that inconvenience, but I can tell you there's light at the end of the tunnel. Joy and Enid are shaking their heads because they know exactly what I'm talking about. To move forward, we always have to move back a little bit, and people don't like when you're moving back to move forward. We've really concentrated on pedestrian safety. Not only along Collins, but what we've tried to do is create pedestrian paths that are off of Collins with the goal of being able to traverse the city but as a pedestrian from north to south on interior streets. So we built 2 pedestrian bridge projects. One has turned into a huge hit, which was a bridge over a canal over by Winston Towers. It's turned into like an elevated park, almost like a mini High Line over the water. And you can see folks congregating there at night. We put a pedestrian bridge over 163rd Street. And then we have 2 more pedestrian bridge projects planned to go over Collins, one by City Hall and one by 174th Street. The one by 74th Street is really cool. It's a beautiful design. It'll be like a High Line. It'll be a wide, and it'll have almost like a park-like setting with stadium seating that overlooks the ocean. So it's pretty interesting. We're about to finish our Gateway Center. The Gateway Park opened, but then we took the space in the parking garage and we built a huge community center out of it. We invested almost $7 million in the community center. It's about to open. So we're real excited about that. It'll have different programming, and then when we get past COVID, it'll host a lot of events. We have 11 parks and 21 beach accesses. So we've been very vigilant about every time somebody builds a building, we force them to put a beach access in. If you go to our south, Val Harbor, you're lucky if you can get to the beach, Surfside. I'm not ragging on my neighbors, but the bottom line is, we've been very vigilant about open access for all. I think Joy's done the same thing. I've watched in Hollandale, they've been pretty careful about making sure the public can get to the beach, which is very important, and it's easy to lose that. So we have, as you know, we still have a lot of construction. There's a lot of construction in the hopper. The developers have called me this year. They feel like, they usually start planning early when they feel like they're going to come out of something. So I think you're going to be surprised to hear about some pretty impressive new buildings. You may think there's no more land to develop in Sunny Isles Beach, but there is actually. There's a couple of large parcels left on the ocean. And then we've been getting a lot of calls on the west side of Collins as well. The west side's a bit more controversial. I took a lot of flack over the west side the last couple of years, but we're going to still see some east side development. And again, I want to thank my neighbors to the north and west and south. And, we all, as mayors, I think we've got a great group in Southeast Broward and Northeast Dade County. We've all worked very closely together on issues of common interest. So as realtors, I can tell you, we look at things regionally. We don't look at things for our city alone, which is very atypical in South Florida. So again, I want to thank my colleagues around, and I really appreciate you giving me the time today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you all mayors on the call today. We're going to go right into introducing our panelists. I will do that, and then we will have Bill introduce our esteemed moderator. So first of our 3 panelists, I'd like to introduce Rita Regeb-Spector, broker associate with One Sotheby's International. Rita has been in business for over 19 years, specializing in luxury residential investments, and recently has also become licensed in Arizona. Rita, wave your hands, and we're going to have Rita soon. Next on our panel is Pamela Garcia, mortgage loan officer with Bank OZK. Pamela has been in business for over 25 years and she has seen it all, very experienced in the mortgage loan industry and related processes. So Pamela, wave your hands and you'll be on our esteemed panel as well. And our third panelist is George Guerra, our 2020 chairman of the Miami Association of Realtors. And in his own words, he was born in the boom, raised in the crash, and thriving in the recession. I was told to make sure I said it with gusto like that. He's also the proud CEO, president, and broker of RESF. So that is an amazing panel we have today, led by a great moderator. So Bill Worrell, would you please do us the honor of introducing our esteemed moderator today?
Yes, Danielle, thank you so much. It would be my pleasure. And good afternoon, everyone. Again, my name is Bill Worrell, and I'm with First Service Residential. We're so very happy to and proud to sponsor the meeting this afternoon. Thank you all for your time. And in alphabetical order, Mayors Cooper, Scholl, and Weissman, thank you all for your leadership as we're about to discuss real estate. Folks are looking for, whether they're local or coming from out of town, I can tell you in the management business, folks are looking for lifestyle. And it's about that experience as they drive through your respective cities to arrive at their new home. And so as you look at the municipalities and the thriving in those municipalities, I just want to take a moment to publicly commend you all for your leadership and your support in your respective cities. So thank you so much. And now I have the pleasure of introducing our moderator today, Mr. Rene Rodriguez, the real estate reporter from the Miami Herald. Rene and his fellow reporters at the Miami Herald received first place in the community leadership category of the 2020 Florida Society of News Editors Journalism Contest for collaborative pieces on the Herald's multi-part story, Priced Out of Paradise, which includes an interactive tool to match buyers and renters to affordable neighborhoods. Rene also received first place in beat reporting for his ongoing coverage of the real estate and general business reporting in South Florida. Rene, congratulations on your awards, again, publicly, well deserved. And now the program is over into your capable hands.
Thanks very much, Bill. And thanks everyone for joining us this afternoon. I'm gonna go around and ask our panelists different questions based on their strengths. And I'm gonna start with you, George. You became chairman of the Miami Association of Realtors in February, which was a completely different world back then. I'm wondering if someone were to ask you, what trends have you seen this year? I guess it's inextricably linked to COVID, right? Everything has to be, affected by COVID. But if someone were to ask you, what are some of the trends that you've seen thus far in the South Florida housing market? What comes to mind?
Oh, you know what? The trends that I see right now, specifically in the housing market, is a lack of supply and high demand fueled by once-in-a-lifetime interest rates.
Does it do the trends translate to any other kind of business that you can think of other than shortage of single-family home, like construction, rentals, leasing, like any other aspect of the real estate industry that you think you've seen some trends ongoing there?
So you know what? To be honest with you, Rene, when it comes to the trends specifically, when it comes to real estate, I've seen from a practicing perspective, obviously the heavy use of video. During this pandemic, instead of showing people live videos or live houses in person, again, we're leveraging technology to take the place of things that we did in the past. And I've seen COVID accelerate that trend.
We're going to come back to that in a little while. Rita, I'm curious, have you been surprised by the strength of the market? The median single family home price, excuse me, in August rose once again. I think it's like a continuous 8.5 years of growth. Nobody knew what was going to happen when the COVID pandemic, broke out. What have you seen that's kind of surprised you in terms of how the market responded?
Well, thank you, Rene. And again, I wanted to thank everyone for being part of this panel and all three mayors who I've interacted with personally. Thank you so much for your support, especially in the real estate sector. Elaine Adler, thank you for creating this amazing panel and everything you've done for the last 25 years that I've known you. Danielle, everyone, I wanted to make sure that everybody got recognized. What has surprised me and has surprised most of my colleagues in real estate is that business is booming. We went through a bit of a hiccup in March and April. I think in every kind of catastrophe, whether it's a pandemic or monetary problem, people don't know what to expect. And with COVID, everybody was kind of weirded out and worried. Because it was impacting their money, and their money is in real estate, it's in the bank, and it's in the stock market. And many people that were panicking about the stock market pulled out, were waiting. And after the March, April hiccup, I'd say, of kind of a flat market, things started to surge. And that, I think, is what surprised most of us, that most of the realtors in the residential, all levels of residential, and the New Yorkers and the New Jersey people that have always been coming here were more fervent about getting down to Florida, about getting a homestead down here. So that was a very, very huge surprise. It was increased traffic, and what we called it sort of like the COVID trifecta. It was the New England refugees that wanted to come down here. And then we were seeing an increase of listings across the board. The realtors were all talking to each other. It's like, I'm getting called, list my house, I want to move here. And then a lot of rental interest as well. So those were I think the main surprises.
I'm going to come back to you on that subject as well, because I just thought of a good question. But Pamela, talk to us a little bit about the world of financing, right? There is no real estate without financing. And I'm curious, are there any, can you think of any tools or programs that were in place before COVID that are no longer active, or things that have been implemented to kind of help ease people who are still in the process of buying a home but are crippled by the economic shutdown, I guess?
Well, as Rita mentioned at the beginning of all this crisis, I think lenders really pulled back. Some of them even walked away from the business. Non-QM lenders discontinued their product availability, and slowly through this process, as we've seen our economy bounce back, and we've seen the supply and the demand for all of the demand for this go up, I think we've started to loosen up on the financing aspects of it. Some of the things that you saw initially were, higher credit score requirements, and although you still had your traditional automated underwriting system that will give you an approval, you still had lenders asking or adding what they call overlays to these and requiring for borrowers to have higher credit scores. So I had some clients that came to me that were initially approved through an FHA loan, and they had a score below a certain amount, so they were no longer approved and couldn't close on a loan that they were initially approved for. So things happened in the beginning that are correcting themselves now. We don't have that minimum credit score requirement. Some lenders are starting to make those changes and opening up again. And aside from that, new products, I think that there's always new products out there, or products that you may not know of. I think that's more what happens. We get kind of fixated on what we're doing on a day-to-day or how we're resolving our financing needs, and we don't reach out to search for other options. So I think that's what happens most of the time.
It's interesting about the credit score, and I'm just curious if employment became something that lenders initially, because there was this insecurity, and it didn't really matter what industry you were in, right? I mean, had like a chain reaction, and I'm wondering how initially lenders, were they paying closer attention to that?
Yes, that was the biggest focus. Stability of employment, continued employment. So the other things that they were asking for was, we needed to get an updated pay stub right before you close. You needed to provide that pay stub to show you're still working. You're still receiving the same pay, working the same amount of hours. we were asked to really dig deeper into what is this borrower's line of work. Is it the type of line of work that would be affected? Can they work from home? Did they suffer some kind of break in their income? And then more specifically with self-employed borrowers, you have now, and that's still a requirement. Those requirements haven't gone away. We need to get a year-to-date profit and loss from the self-employed borrower. It needs to be audited. So audited financials are required. If they're not audited, then we allow unaudited financials, but we need to also have bank statements to support what we're seeing on those P&Ls, and that they align with the deposits that we're seeing in the bank for the business accounts. And that leads me into another thing I want to mention. A lot of times you may see that buyer is thinking, oh, they received some money from PPP loans or other grants that they've received that have been deposited into the business account. We're not using those as business assets. So that's something to keep in mind for realtors out there that may have borrowers that are self-employed, that may be investors or deal with the real estate market and are allowed to use those funds for that. Lenders won't allow you to consider those. They won't consider those business assets.
George, and again, in April, we all curled up into a little ball of despair, and we didn't know what was coming. As chairman of the association, I'm sure, realtors, you saw, fallen spirits and would never, what are some of the things that you did or that you told realtors at the time to kind of, dwell on the positive, even though we didn't know what the future was going to bring, right? But we saw business pick up almost immediately in May. Like, what were some of the things that you used to kind of help rally the troops, so to speak?
So you know what, great question. And luckily for us, my association had a remote footprint before COVID happened. So we were able to go remote, pretty much at the speed of now and not miss a beat. From a messaging perspective, we used all of our media fronts to get the message out there that we're open, that we're still doing business, and that we were lobbying and fighting more than ever to become essential. We mobilized our government affairs team from a local, state, and national perspective in order to make sure that we are essential. And thank God, because of that, our industry is doing great. We also came out with stats. We looked at the market, we looked to see when we hit bottom, and we made sure to make that newsworthy, to allow our consumers to know, hey, we hit the bottom, we're on an upward momentum. Now is the time, to get involved. From an education perspective, COVID really accelerated the use of, Zoom and this web technology. And as a real estate association, we tapped in not only locally, nationally, but worldwide to bring in people and share their practices and their education, and bring education, an education experience on a whole other level never done before. So while we were in that time of waiting, we were, Rene, sharpening our tools, going back into the den, making sure that the minute we were allowed to go out, that we were as sharp as a fiddle. And that's pretty much what we did from the get-go.
Rita, digital and online was already a huge part of the real estate business and a huge part of the way that realtors marketed like the properties that they had. I do this thing every week where we compile the top 5 residential sales in Miami-Dade County, and we break them out. And we always include the seller agent and the buyer's agent. And what I'm always surprised is whenever you Google any of those agents' names today, they have their own website. And some of them are not small, but they're not necessarily big names. Can you talk a little bit about the added importance that the online presence has brought to the industry? And do you think that's gonna, it's here to stay, isn't it? There's no putting this genie back in the bottle.
Oh, absolutely, 1,000%. And luckily, a lot of agencies and a lot of realtors have been involved in that beforehand. We've employed video with sales because Miami is such an international hub and we deal with so many foreign buyers. It's not unusual for us to go out to a showing and the other agent is not with their client, but with their laptop or their tablet, and they're doing like a live video. What transformed during COVID, especially March and April, when we were shut down, we were not allowed into the lobbies of any of the condos. And they were relying on Matterhorn and other video companies. People were taking stills, making them into movies, and you know, working remotely in that sense. But maintaining an online presence is extremely important. Sending out emails, email blasts, email notes, personal notes to clients. During the COVID, as soon as COVID, when we were during shutdown, what I was doing personally was reaching out to my client base and also studying I took the time to study for my real estate exam in Arizona, which turned out to be perfect timing because their market is even hotter than the South Florida market. Yeah. But the online doing Zooms and webinars and education is really, really vital to staying current in the business. And I'm sure a lot of my colleagues, you know, were aware of that and doing that as well.
Pamela, are there any kind of programs right now that allow for financing without mortgage insurance? Like has the financing industry come up with any new, and this follows up your question earlier where the requirements were stricter, but has there been anything on the other side, any kind of new processes to kind of deal with this new reality?
Well, I experienced a big change during this crisis because I think that my product offers an opportunity to go into a loan, purchase a home with a very low down payment. We offer up to 100% financing with no mortgage insurance. And I think that everyone was just, as I said before, focusing on the conventional 3% down, FHA 3.5% down, and not thinking of perhaps there's another option out there. And it's kind of hard, you know, I work for a community bank. There's only so much. I'm the only loan officer from Central Florida down covering the area. So I can't get the word out to everyone regarding what I have to offer, you know. So this created an opportunity because these, as I said before, these restrictions and these added requirements to credit scores created that need. And as soon as I started to step in and help these people close on loans that they wouldn't have been able to close otherwise, it started to really get out there and build more. Our program does offer 100% financing with no mortgage insurance. It is our CRA lending program. And typically when you hear CRA, you think it's limited to certain areas. And yes, that is true. But there are always some changes that occur at certain banks because everyone offers something different. No one person is going to, you know, be able to finance everything that's out there. So everyone has their specific, you know, product that they focus on and do it perfectly well. So we have the option of financing, offering our product to a property located in an area that has over 50% of minority concentration. In Dade County, we know there's a high amount of Hispanic, which is considered a minority. So I find that pretty much every property in Dade County qualifies for my program. So you're looking at the ability to purchase a property up to a $510,000 loan amount, 510-4, which is Fannie Mae max, with zero money down. If you have a 660 score, no mortgage insurance. So
if you have a what score, how high?
Minimum score requirement of 660.
Oh,
and
wow.
Yeah.
And so I would qualify for that.
And you can do 3% down with a 600 score. So, and that hasn't changed because of the pandemic. We haven't raised that credit score requirement. We haven't done any of that. I mean, we do have, you know, things that we need to cover as far as employment is concerned, because that's our biggest concern, making sure that we're doing loans and that everyone's going to be able to stay employed. So we cover that.
So it's not a repeat of the 2008 situation
No,
where banks were,
no.
I mean, yet these programs are in place, but they're also strict requirements.
There's very strict credit criteria requirements because credit is a very tricky thing. You know, you may have a low credit score and you may be paying your credit cards on time for years, but there is something that's hitting your credit. Let's say collections that are recent, or you're keeping your balances too high to the limit. So that's driving that score down. That I find so many applicants that come to me have been renting for years, paying $1,500, $2,000 in rent for years, and they can't buy a house because their credit score isn't at a certain amount. And if they, you know, then they make enough money to qualify for the loan, but it's kind of hard to save 5% down payment and then another 3 to 4% in closing costs. So, you know, they keep renting. So it's an option.
George, you're also the 2021 National Association of Realtors President Global Real Estate Liaison. Did I get that title right?
Oh, you came fairly close.
So, you know, the big question obviously for Miami is, you know, I don't have to tell anyone on this panel that the real estate industry has for, you know, probably since 2010 has been heavily reliant on foreign buyers. In fact, foreign buyers is part of what got us out of that crisis that we were in 2010, and they have kept coming. They have kept buying. We've started to see, and correct me if I'm wrong about anything like this. We've seen the foreign buyer activity. We started seeing it slow down a little bit last year, but now with COVID and travel restrictions, I have to imagine that it's close to zero. Or very minimal. And I'm wondering what you see in terms of the future of that aspect of the industry. Like how do you see that playing out?
So great question. And the answer is international buyers, it's not zero. You know, they are buying, believe it or not. And you know, the last transaction that I was speaking about was actually a Mexican buyer at $1 million condo that he was looking at. Miami is a world city, you know, and I think in 2006, 2007, you know, we were starting to become a world city. I think now we confidently are. And I think as we go on, more eyes are going to be on us. You know, we have a unique place in geography where we're in between South America. We have the whole world coming over here. When you look, you know, all the celebrities are moving down. I think that our popularity is only going to grow. When I look at what's going on from an international perspective, especially during COVID, you know, when they're seeing their government not take action as effective as what's going on in the US, I feel that those with some money are going to really now make the step to come over. I think that COVID is going to be a catalyst for those that were in the sidelines to officially make that jump. And again, I'm very optimistic in South Florida. When I look at us from a world city perspective, we have so much, we have a huge opportunity to grow.
And Rita, playing off that question, so if we start talking about out-of-town buyers, I think earlier this week, or maybe it was late last week, I wrote a quick story that one of the co-owners of Inter Miami, the soccer club, just bought a primary residence here in Miami Beach, which he's going to tear down, and he's going to build the mansion of his dreams on it. Ever since the Tax Cut and Jobs Act went into effect in 2018, January 1st, 2018, we started seeing, first it was like really, really high net worth individuals who were moving here, making their primary residence in Florida for tax reasons. Our president did it. But we've started to see now it's not just the billionaires who are doing it, but it's also, you know, if you own a condo in Manhattan, you know, or in Boston or someplace like that, you would automatically benefit just from moving down here. Can you talk a little bit about how the out-of-town buyers, especially from the Northeast, have kind of, their numbers have increased and have kind of helped to pick up the slack left by the foreign buyers?
Correct. Yes, Renee, that's a great question. The SALT tax reform was very effective in bringing and making people make that transition, come down here and stop paying the high taxes in New York, New Jersey, and California. The California taxes are outrageous. So we've seen a big shift of people homesteading in Florida. in order to diminish their tax burden and also claim the homestead. And like you said, there was a 20% gain in home buyership from those areas from the north once that, I think it was 2018, once that tax reform went into effect. Everybody said, hey, this, we need to do this in order to save money. But then it was, like you said, not necessarily the millionaires and billionaires. It was the middle income people that are doing the same thing, combined with the baby boomer syndrome and the empty nesters. Why do we need to be in this horrible weather when we can be living in Florida? Like George said, this is a hub. This is where people want to live. Not to disparage Kansas City, but you don't see anybody saying, God, I wish I were in Kansas City instead of in a oceanfront condo. Miami has always been a destination area for people with first, second, third, and fourth homes. So I personally witnessed a few instances recently where to my clients, they declared Florida as their primary residence, even though they commute back and forth to other states, just for the tax reasons, just for that tax implication. So we are.
And remote working could add to that, right? So Twitter has said that permanently their employees can work from home.
Right.
I read a piece, I think it was in the San Francisco Chronicle, how a lot of tech industry folks are leaving that city because they've realized they can do their jobs from home.
Right.
So why live in San Francisco and pay those rents? You move here and you can get, triple the size. So the one side effect, I think, of the working remotely from home is that it's going to contribute to those out-of-town buyers who can work anywhere.
Right. And it's also what's happening on the West Coast, because I'm over there as well, is that I am getting a lot of buyers from California that they're being told, especially in Northern California, Marin County, you're not coming back to Google for another year. You're not coming back to any of these offices. People are either remodeling their homes and creating home offices, or they are moving to Arizona, some to Florida, some to Texas, and North Carolina. Those seem to be the four areas right now. But and you can even check. This was something funny that I spoke with somebody in Arizona about from the board. If you call U-Haul and ask them, what does it cost to move a home from Chicago to Arizona? It's 3 or 4 times the price of moving from Arizona to Chicago. Same with California. So it's showing a trend of people moving and homesteading in different areas, for tax reasons and all that. But of course, again, Florida is a big attraction to everyone, and it could be that the locals, the U.S. citizens of New York and New Jersey are making up for that, the gap in the Latin American, because there has been a little bit of a slowdown with the Latin American purchases.
Pamela, we spoke a little bit about requirements for home buyers here. What about, is there any difference with lenders when it's like a second home, which tends to be maybe not a primary residence? Are those is it pretty much the same situation as it is for people who are buying their first home? Or I have to imagine there would be a lot stricter requirements, right?
Right. So basically, if you're purchasing a second home, you would be required to carry both payments for your primary and your second home. Because technically, it's usually second home purchases are a vacation home, and you're not renting either or. So if you're going to be renting a property that you're purchasing, you're better off buying it as an investment property because you can use the rental to qualify. But if it's truly a second home, you would have to qualify with both payments, your primary home and the future home. Now, on the case of relocation, you would need to provide proof that you are able to work in the place where you're relocating to, either remotely or you're just making a complete change to that new area. You have to show that you've been already employed there, receiving your first paycheck and all of that. And also, the other thing that the bank is going to require is what is the disposition of the departing property? Are you going to be renting that, or are you going to be selling it? If it's going to be sold, they're going to require you to have that closed and sold before they can close on the loan that you're purchasing.
So this is the last question, and it's for all three of you. I'm going to ask you guys to answer this question and also add anything that you think, oh, who's that, Rita? What's his name or her name?
This is Pam.
Pam.
What?
My daughter's
So
daughter.
I'm going to ask all three of you
She's
because
relocating
you come at this
from New York.
from the,
So cute.
She's relocating from New York.
yes.
You must be so happy.
You come at it from a different perspective, so I'm going to ask each of you to answer this question from your own perspective, which is, you know, we tend to think of real estate the market as being in cycles, and what I am hearing from you guys increasingly today is that the traditional cycle thinking that used to be true no longer exists. Cycles are kind of like they're no longer such defined peaks and valleys. So I'm just curious what you guys predict the local real estate market here, which direction. We have a lot of unsold condos in the downtown corridor. We have a lot of sellers who are having to make price adjustments. There's an incredible demand for single family homes, and that demand is moving out to the suburbs. So I'm just curious for each of you to make a prediction about the next 2 years. Like, what do you see happening? And George, we'll start with you.
All right, great question. You know what? I think when it comes to entry-level housing, when it comes to middle income, I think that's going to be super duper strong, especially with the low interest rates that are there. You know, I think when you look at the numbers, especially condos in that $1 million mark, you know, we have a 10-year inventory. I think that's going to take its time to be absorbed. But I think there's going to be more interest now than there was before. I think the next 2 years really depends on the recovery of certain sectors. You know, are we going to get our tourism back? Are we going to get our restaurants back? Are we going to get our service industry back? You know, keep in mind here in South Florida, you know, we don't really produce anything. We don't make anything. You know, we have hotels, we have restaurants, we have services, and then we have real estate, title, mortgage, insurance. You know, thank God that our industry was deemed essential. If not, Rene, I don't really know, you know, how we would be functioning right now. So I think if we have a perfect environment where we do recover, our service industries do come back, Miami gets to open up and become the world city that she is, I see a very positive outlook. And, you know, I'm going to go on a limb and say that we might be going into what I would call a golden era, which is a lot of years of good stuff. And maybe I might be a little bit too optimistic. I think that if business doesn't come back and if we're not able to shake off, you know, what the current environment that we're in right now, I think we're going to be in trouble. And I think the whole entire US is going to be in trouble as well. So, you know, I think pending on, you know, the recovery, I think will depend on the outlook. But I am super optimistic when it comes to Miami. When you look at our history, we recover fast, we recover strong. Thank you.
Rita, same question for you.
Yeah, I agree a lot with George. I think we're headed for rapid recovery. The people that are in dense areas of the cities, they want to be down here, and I think the market is just going to maintain and grow as things come back. Of course, tourism is essential to Florida, and events. You know, we're like an event capital of the world, and hopefully sometime down, you know, in the future, we will recover and bring that back. But the market, it's not that there are no deals. You know, people are looking for deals and discounts and 40 cents on the dollar kind of thing, and all the realtors are getting those kind of calls every day. Nobody is giving away their property. There are a lot of transactions going on, and that in itself is showing that there are bidding wars in some properties. There are some pockets, areas like Coconut Grove and certain areas of the Flagler Village in Fort Lauderdale that are, you have to go in and put in an offer. We're maintaining.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah, you were stalled. So we're not only maintaining a robust economy right now, a robust real estate world, but I see us continuing to flourish. Absolutely. 100%.
And Pamela, same question to you. And by the way, Rita, like you just reminded me, the Art Basel cancellation of this year is obviously a big blow to the real estate market because there's a lot of real estate.
It was on 2 weeks ago. It was still on.
It's
not.
They
just canceled it.
Yeah, they just canceled it yesterday. So, but Pamela, same question for you about just like your prediction.
I agree with both of you. I think that I'm very optimistic as well. I've been in the business where we've experienced the drops and we've always recovered very well. Where our real estate market is very different. We set ourselves apart from the rest. And I think we've always shown that. And to me, location is key. And I think that I know that there's not a lot of deals out there, there's low inventory right now. I think lenders are focusing on the right things right now. We've learned a lot from past experiences. And I think if we approach things correctly, I think we're gonna be okay. And I think we're gonna actually have a really good couple of years coming up.
I want to recognize he was late joining us, but Mayor Anthony DeFilippo from North Miami Beach. I don't know if he's still with us or not, but Mayor, if you're there, thanks for joining us. And we're going to do one last question, and this is from the chat. So I'm going to pick one here. Like, if the COVID pandemic, who asked this? It's anonymous, and this can go to any of you. The COVID pandemic goes into 2021. Are foreclosures going to become a routine part of the real estate equation? And we're seeing that a lot from landlords. I've been covering the rental situation a lot, and a lot of landlords are telling me, you know what, I may either just sell the property, or the bank is not, because they can't pay their mortgage, they use these properties as rental investment. So worst case scenario, COVID stretches on until May, June of this year. Are foreclosures going to become a bigger part of the real estate equation?
So you know what? Let me start this. I think that yes and no. I think if you are an end user, if this is your homestead, I think the government is going to bend over more than ever to create an incentive to keep us in our homes, whether it's with the banks or whether it's with us. I think we don't want to see a repetition of 2008, where we had to get an attorney and get people out of their homes. I think we've learned the lesson, and this is a health issue. This isn't forced out of greed. Now, I do think that there is a market out there that will foreclose, and that is for that over-leveraged investor. Unfortunately, the banks can't save everybody, but I think those that own their home, that it's their homestead, I think great effort's going to be done to them. Those that are over-leveraged might pay that price.
All right, you guys, it's 3:03. I want to thank everyone I want to thank the panelists for participating and putting up with my questions. And I want to thank all the mayors for your contributions and for everyone who tuned in. Any closing comments from anyone?
Yes, may I please?
Elaine, go ahead.
Yes, our mayor, North Miami Beach Mayor Anthony DeFilippo, I think is having some problems with his video. Can you hear us, Mayor?
I can hear you, but my video is disabled on your side.
All right. Well, the city of North Miami Beach is here. We can hear you. Oh, and now we see you. So we're ready for your city update. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I'm happy to see the comments that were made by everybody that spoke, and to all my colleagues on all sides of North Miami Beach. I'm super thrilled to be working together with them. Besides being the mayor of North Miami Beach, I'm also part of One Sotheby's International Realty now, and so I'm very thrilled to be part of this great team, and tell you that the real estate market here in North Miami Beach is truly thriving. There is no better moment to come with investment opportunities to North Miami Beach. For those of you that know this city or have been following it very well, you've seen what happened with Marina Palms, how that project took off. We heard from Kristen from the Harbors on how well that project is coming along. The Jefferson Plaza on 167th Street and Northeast, between Northeast 8th and 10th Avenue is being redeveloped. You know, we have Lowe's coming in, Super Publix, Chick-fil-A, all these new commercial and residential redevelopments. The Zool rental community on West Dixie Highway is at a 97% occupancy, which is super. You could see that the demand for residential units in North Miami Beach is currently thriving. And coming up on our agenda in September now, we have the Intercoastal Mall project on Northeast 163rd Street and 35th Avenue, which is going to be over 2,000 units and multi-use as well. So we're thrilled to see what's going on here in North Miami Beach, and we invite all realtors to please come aboard and take advantage of this great opportunity. Like everybody has said, I mean, I think that people are moving from all places of the United States. They're coming to Miami, and they're coming to the beaches and Northeast Dade, and this is where they want to park their money. So I'm thrilled to see what's happening here in our great city of North Miami Beach, and I congratulate again my fellow colleagues from Sunny Isles, Aventura, and all surrounding areas. And again, I'm happy to see that our businesses are now back at 50%, being able to work at 50% occupancy and thrive again, because they were really, really hurting. And that this is really helping out our economy to really step it up and hopefully revive itself again.
All right.
Thank you very much, and it's great to see you all. And I invite you all to the great city of North Miami Beach. And if you have any questions about what's going on in our great city and in the great city of North Miami Beach, please call me at 305-582-0867, 305-582-0867. And thank you very much again to the Aventura Marketing Council for creating such a wonderful panel and giving us the opportunity to express what's going on in North Miami Beach.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor DeFilippo. And we're going to end now in a minute with a final closing from our Aventura Marketing Council Chairman, Gary Pyatt. I also would like to personally thank Elaine Adler, legendary, for putting this on, and all the panelists and our moderator today. You all have been incredible. The chat comments have been awesome. The mayors for staying on. What a treat to have all of you on. Clearly the attendees loved hearing from you and all your wise updates. So without further ado, Chairman Gary, would you like to give some closing remarks to end us?
Absolutely, very quickly. But first of all, thank you, Danielle, for your time today and running such a great program for us. Thank you so much for your continued support and for taking your time out today. Thank you to our partners, the Miami Association of Realtors, obviously, for today. Our participating chambers, as I mentioned earlier, for their combined support of today, and to our sponsor, First Service Residential, to Christian and Bill. Also, as Anthony just wrapped it up, but to our participating mayors from our great partner cities and their updates to everybody. And obviously to our panelists for providing, as I listened, all the valuable information, and to Rene for being a moderator to us today and keeping us, along with Danielle, on track. I was also following the chat room and stuff, and there were a lot of comments and a lot of back and forth, and people participating as always, which is always good to see amongst the over 100 participants that we had today. So really quickly, everybody have a fantastic weekend, a safe weekend, and as my mayor of my city, Enid Weissman, always say, please wear your masks, please be safe. Danielle, I'll turn it over to you if you want to do any closing remarks or thank anybody in particular. But otherwise than that, everybody, please have a safe and a great holiday weekend coming up.
We are good from our end. Thank you all so very much. Have a wonderful, safe weekend. Safe, and best wishes to you all and your families.
Thank you, Danielle.
Thank you, everyone.
Be safe, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all. Thank you all. Great program.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Good job.